What's up, guys? It's Zaki J, and today we're going to be talking about aura maxing. Yes, you too can max your aura all the way up to 9,000 and higher. And is the aura real, right? Let's talk about that. And how can we improve it? Let's talk about that. And what are the things that actually take away from our aura? Yeah, we're all going to cover those three things in this video, so strap in. First off, is the aura real? Well, it seems to be that when we are in person with other people, there's more than just the tangible forms of communication. There's more than just action and words that can influence things. And that's why you have words like sphere or ideas like sphere of influence, cult of personality, reality distortion fields, right? Steve Jobs, they talk about him having a reality distortion field where he can walk into a room and all of a sudden the reality itself seems to bend to his will, right? And there is plenty of other examples. The Theranos founder, different people like Osho, of spiritual leaders that have this, that they can walk in a room and immediately the room becomes very calm, right? There's a presence that is felt. So aura seems to be something that is real, but is it real in your life, right? And when we look at aura, there seems to be this thing that was depicted in a lot of iconography, especially with saints and religious figures. And that iconography tends to have this golden rays around the person's head, like a halo, right? So a lot of angelic figures are represented with halos. Same thing with all these other religious figures and saints and mystics. And this glow, this electromagnetic field that's around this individual, when it's being used in the modern sense, is called things like the distortion field, the reality distortion field. So it is a tool should you choose to use it, but why would you choose to use it, right? Well, for me, when I'm looking at why I'm choosing to use something, it's often very helpful to see how you can build it, how you can improve it. Because if you can build it and improve the thing, that will give you key indicators of how useful it can be for you, right? So for instance, if you're trying to improve and build your body, you know that going to the gym, developing that discipline tends to be very helpful and translates into other verticals too. So how can we improve our aura, right? And does it translate into other domains? You tell me. Let's go through some. So if you want to improve your aura, one of the first things you're gonna have to do is boost your innate energy, right? You have this quality of energy that you can draw upon on any given day. Say if you want to do deep work, right? Some people might have just 1 hour of deep work within them. Some people, they might have like 8, you know? I think the science generally indicates that a 6-hour work day is pretty much people are tapped after this 4 to 6 hours. So we can assume that the average person is going to have 4 to 6 hours of great mental clarity that they can plug into things that they care about. So improving that will help boost your aura because you just have more energy reserves to dedicate to the thing that you're building out, the skill. And how can we improve our energy reserves? Like eating right and sleeping is the very basics, right? But you'd be surprised about how much that can improve the energy in your body. So I'm gonna throw out another one. I'm gonna throw out one that you might not have heard before, but it comes from the bodybuilding community. And look, it works. So use it, it's cheap too. It's called creatine, right? Creatine is not just about big muscles, believe it or not. Creatine, especially if you've never done creatine before, it helps you develop ATP, energy in your system. When the creatine is being built inside your body, it's built up of like 3 amino acids, right? So that's something that becomes very useful in ATP is if you have amino acids to build creatine inside yourself. But also if you get like the manufactured creatine, that's going to boost your system in general because you can have more amino acids you can use for other things. in your system while you're getting creatine monohydrate, for instance. So you should be boosting your energy. Creatine is like the cheapest and the easiest way to boost your ATP. And then you'll have all this energy and mental clarity that you can plug into the next thing you're going to need to do to improve your aura. And that's meditate. And meditation, the first few things you're going to have to do with meditation is focus on becoming non-reactive, building out the mind that's equanimous, that has equanimity in it. And this is really important because if you want your aura to be expanding beyond you, if you want it to be affecting other people in the room, you want to be able to walk in a room. And for instance, I'll give another example. They say that Obama, for whatever you think about him, at least that man had aura, you know? And so when he would walk into a room, he had a commanding presence. You want to have this commanding presence because there's going to be times when you need to draw upon a little bit extra to go that extra mile. So by meditating and to the point where you are becoming less reactive to your thoughts, you're just letting your aura emanate. Because as soon as you start becoming reactive, your mind is going to focus, zoom in onto that problem. And that problem is going to become your whole world. That's right, the problem becomes the whole world and not the world itself. And the problem is not fractal. The problem is this finite point. And you want to keep your mind in this completely open capacity that's able to source new opportunities. Very difficult to source new opportunities if it thinks that the problem that you're focusing on is life or death. And that's often how the mind is working. So you need to meditate to get to the point where you are not focused on all these emergent problems. Instead, you're focused on the emergent possibilities. And then after you develop that, one of the other things you can do with meditation, you need to build this core skill of meditation, is then you start to use meditation to play with energy. You have energy in your system, right? Latent energy that is at your root chakras. It's your, the Freud would call this the libido, right? And it's up to you how you're going to treat this libido. And so if you're trying to improve your aura, you want to take this libido and channel it up through your system till you can emanate it at your heart center and your crown chakra. Very important to have strong emanations from these points. And these emanations are not doing anything specific. They don't have to be doing anything specific. They can just be sending an abundance of energy. So if you send an abundance of energy through your system to your heart center and your crown center, you're going to be emanating abundance naturally, and your body language will communicate this, your words will communicate this, and then your aura will be felt. And what's felt is that abundance and energy, and people are going to be like, wow, people love being around people that have energy, right? Walk into a room, walk into a party and just be low energy. Just try it, right? Be as low energy as possible, like, no one's going to want to talk to you, right? No one's going to be instantly magnetized to you. But if you walk in and you have charged your system, then it's going to be inviting, right? Just think of, everyone has a smartphone, right? If your smartphone is on energy saving mode, the signal's not going to be too good. It's going to be harder to pick up Wi-Fi. The internet's going to be slower. And that's the same way with the human body. So boost that system up. Take that libido, that sexual energy, translate it into and transmute it into a higher form, okay? And once you start doing that, you're going to notice remarkable changes. Because Steve Jobs, for instance, he was doing acid. That's right, you read his biography, check it out. He was doing acid, so he was expanding his consciousness. He was doing meditation, so he was expanding his consciousness. Don't let these founders be the only people doing this. The average user can do this in their very life. You should be doing this in your very life because it is important. It is so important that if Steve Jobs did it a few times, it has changed his trajectory and how he's going up against life. He's all of a sudden creating amazing technologies, building businesses, and people are actively noticing there is something different about this individual, right? That can be you. But the problem is, just like there's many ways to improve your aura, unfortunately, there's so many ways you get to lose aura. Incredible amounts of ways you lose aura. And you can tell this just by like a lack of sleep, for instance. You wake up after a couple days of low levels of sleep, 5 hours, a couple of 5 hours or maybe 4 hour days of sleep. And that lack of energy, the lack of sleep, it's a breeding ground for disease, right? Often you might feel what they say, run down, right? That's your aura plummeting, right? Your aura starts to plummet, you start to get, if you have health, and if that starts kind of compounding, because you might get like health problems, you get a few health problems, and that drastically reduces your aura too. And anything that's emotionally creating emotional instability in your system is reducing your aura. Things that are creating less disciplined minds and bodies is reducing your aura. So there's actually almost an infinite ways that you can lose aura, but they are tried and true methods of gaining aura. So if you go through in your life, if you see like, you know, when I do these habits, I tend to lose energy in the long run, right? Because there's some habits that might give you a small boost to energy, but at the cost of greater discipline in the future. And I'll give you an example. So some people, they need to run off of caffeine in order to get things done, right? That's a little bit of a Faustian bargain, especially if you're drinking caffeine later into the day. And that's because you're getting this boost of energy. It's reducing the signaling of adenosine in your system, and you get that boost of energy, but later on when you have the crash, you have the come down, it's harder to sleep and it's harder to rebalance your system. And a lot of this stuff is also because, you know, when you're drinking caffeine, and even if you're doing nicotine, it's stripping magnesium out of your system rapidly. And magnesium is a great way to stay calm. So you're doing things that are giving you energy, but it's costing you more resources in the long term, especially if it becomes a habit. You want to get ahead of these things. At least if you're doing those things that have some sort of Faustian bargain, you're doing things to supplement against the oxidizing stress and to supplement against the long-term like loss of energy, so you can stay ahead of it. You need to do this if you want to maintain your aura. And by eliminating the things that are negatively impacting your aura, you're going to find out that the strength of your aura almost automatically boosts without you doing anything else. If you didn't even try to improve your aura, but you just took all the ways that your aura is being diminished by your own habits, you took those things out of the equation, all of a sudden you're going to become magnetic. Like your sexual energy that people use to create art, their creativity, it doesn't have to be like, don't think of sexual energy as purely sexual. It's just a form of energy that's very relatable to people because people can feel it very, even guys that don't do like deep, that are not connected emotionally with themselves, they can still feel this energy coursing through their system. So you want to take that energy and let it build into something greater. Let it build into your purpose, your dreams, your desires, right? And you can do that. It's very possible. And by just eliminating the things that are negative, you're gonna find instantaneous boost. And by doing the things that are positive, you're gonna see rocket fuel. You're gonna be fueling your whole system with rocket fuel to the point where you too can have a reality distortion field. Your electromagnetic presence will be magnetizing, and you might just find out that without really changing any other communication patterns, that you just showing up in this right mind state and this right feeling state is creating a really good, comfortable being state. So let's try that, okay? Start aura maxxing today. And if you enjoyed this video, think about giving a like or subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. And I will talk to y'all soon. Have a great rest of the day.